Once a single race, the Elves are now a shattered people, each one belonging to one of three groups: the High Elves, the Wood Elves, and the Dark Elves. It is the leader of the latter that we're going to begin to discuss today, Malekith. Before we can really get into why he's such an awesome character from the days of fantasy, first we need to talk about his father. Before the Elves became separate warring factions, they were simply Elves. When the great stargates of the Old Ones collapsed, however, it caused rifts in reality that allowed the demons of chaos to flood into the world. The Elves were unprepared for this level of war, and their grand culture and work of arts were useless as defences against the demonic incursions. In this time of need, an elf came into the fray who would come to lead the elven armies against chaos: Aenarion. Aenarion and those that followed him fought the forces of chaos tirelessly. As they fought and pushed back the tide of demons, more and more elves came to lend their strength and learn the ways of war. Despite this growing strength, the hordes of chaos were unending, and in an act of pure desperation, Aenarion flung themselves into the sacred fires of Aenarion, the lord of the elven gods. In these flames he burned, in body and soul, but through his force of will, he endured. He emerged, purified by the holy flames, and with a renewed vigour that shone from him, inspiring his fellow elves and causing demons to cower before him. Aenarion, now named the Phoenix King, led the forces of the elves to greater and greater victories against chaos. He gained their attention to the point of a special punishment. When Aenarion had learned that his wife had been slain by a great demon of Slaanesh, and that his children were now missing, his rage against the forces of chaos hardened and set roots deep within him. Swearing that he would destroy all chaos for his vengeance, he took up the Widowmaker, the accursed weapon of the Lord of Murder, Cain. This sword twisted Aenarion, fueling his rage and turning the Phoenix King into a cold and cruel man. He took a new wife, Morathi, and from her received an heir to replace those lost, who they called Malekith. He was a champion for those elves that had lost all to chaos, and they gathered to him with unassailable loyalty. Travelling to the bleak Nagarath, Aenarion founded a new kingdom, full with his armies of elves with nothing to lose. His forces no longer just fought to survive, they enjoyed the fight, killing the forces of chaos and inflicting onto them the pain that they had caused the elves. It was in this harsh land that Malekith grew up, learning warcraft and leadership from his father, along with the magical arts from his seeress mother, Morathi. Aenarion's court had become a wild place, where war and death were twin obsessions. Looked upon as savage by other elves, the chance for civil war between the elves grew, and could have broken out if not for the war with chaos reaching new heights when it did. Ulthuan stood on the brink of destruction, and whilst Aenarion, being touched by Aenarion and Cain, was all but invincible, he could not be everywhere at once. He and his forces fought with a fury, allowing his old friend Kalidor to lead a ritual to summon a vortex of energy to siphon away the magical power of the demonic forces and return it to the realm of chaos. Leading the fight against four greater demons, Aenarion and the forces of Nagarath held the line, as the Phoenix Lord fell to their knees, succumbing to their wounds. The ritual completed and the vortex was created. Ulthuan was reduced to ruins, and Aenarion was spent, his final act returning the Widowmaker to the Shrine of Cain. The elves first looked to his son, Malekith, to lead them back into a golden age, but reports and rumours of the court of Nagarath left many concerned about how a child brought up in such a place would have been affected. Instead, they elected Bel-Shanaar of Tyrannoch, with Malekith taking the decision with good grace and bending the knee. Morathi did not take this so well, however, and railed against the election, even as Malekith departed overseas. With the threat of war past, the elves under Bel-Shanaar's rule became selfish and indulgent. The realm fell into turmoil, and many began to speak in hushed tones that the new Phoenix King was weak and a usurper of Aenarion's heir. As Malekith travelled the world, he met and married a priestess of Lilith called Alisara. Residing for a time on the fringes of the Elven Empire in the newly founded Tor Alessi, Malekith sated his warrior's soul fighting alongside the dwarfs there against the Orc hordes and the Beasts of Chaos, eventually becoming anointed ambassador to the Dwarf High King. His travels would eventually lead him to search for his father's armour, bringing him before the altar of Cain. From then on, his travels were fueled by a new desire growing within him, a search for forbidden depths of magic. Although this searching for dark and lost magics pushed Alisara away from him, her loss was soon forgotten as he delved deeper and deeper into forgotten arts. Eventually, he returned to Ulthuan, where loyalists hoped he would bring light back to their lands, which had become infested with forbidden cults. Each month, Malekith announced new victories, with more and more cultists imprisoned, until eventually he found the root of the issue. Publicly, he denounced his mother Morathi for being at the heart of this insidious issue, but in secret, the two began to plot on Belshazzar's downfall. To organise a final push to cleanse the lands of any remaining taint, Malekith convinced the Phoenix Lord to gather the Council of Princes before the flames of Asuran to make their plan of attack. As they were gathered there, the forces of Nagarath marched on the shrine, their numbers increased by those cultists who swore allegiance to Morathi. At the shrine, Malekith proclaimed Belshazzar a cultist, and when the council did not believe this claim, his armies descended upon the princes, spilling their blood across the temple floor as Aenarion's son strode into the flames, just as his father had done so previously. There he burned, his flesh, hair and skin bubbling as the flames ruined his form. Unable to bear the heat, he hurled himself clear, being carried away by his loyal troops, fleeing north. While he still burned, broken and laying in the safety of Nagarath, Morathi took command of his troops. Activating the agent she had sown across the Elven kingdoms, betrayal aided in her conquest. Even as the elves frantically anointed Imric of Calador, the new Phoenix King, a priest of Vul constructed a suit of armour to contain Malekith. The flames still burning, the armour was sealed into his flesh, runes forever casing him in this skin of black steel. Malekith rose, ready to lead once more, now as the Witch King. Where he led, victory followed. It wasn't until he faced against the new Phoenix King in battle when Imric slew his beloved dragon, Sulek. Whilst the Witch King eventually fought his way back to his troops, day had been lost. As he retreated from this battle, the Witch King understood a harsh truth. Ulthuan would never be his. Consumed by this new rage, he elected for the next best thing. If he could not have Ulthuan, no one could. He would unravel the magic of the Great Vortex and bring the full fury of the Realm of Chaos down upon his ancestral home. If they would not accept his rule, the elves would need to accept the consequences of that choice. One of his disciples, however, saw the madness in Malekith's plan and betrayed the Witch King, warning the Phoenix King of what was coming. As the Witch King's sorcerers reached the height of their ritual and the vortex began to falter, the magics of the Phoenix King's forces joined the fray, attempting to restore the balance. This grand battle of light and dark magic awoke the ancient Calador from his long stasis, and with his additional aid, they were able to halt Malekith's ploy. Returning the vortex to stability, however, released a tremendous amount of energy, and this backlash tore Ulthuan apart. Tidal waves washed over the northern kingdoms, wiping cities from the earth. Only those of Malekith's forces who rode out the wave of destruction on the floating castles of Nagarath remained. And with his plan foiled and energy spent, the Witch King and his armies sailed north across the churning seas to the desolate wilderness of Nagaroth. This is where we'll leave Malekith for today, carried once again by his troops to safety after a failed plot. My favourite part of the story of the Witch King is that there are multiple points in his early life where it feels like he could have become the grand hero his father was, if not for the influence or intervention of his mother Morathi. I'm excited to talk again soon about the founding of Naggarond and of Malekith's final return to Ulthuan. If you're enjoying the videos and don't want to miss the next part, please drop me a like and subscribe. And if you've got a suggestion for what I should cover next, comment below and I'll get to it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.